Hey everybody! This week I want to talk about different things that we can do while fighting a fish to prevent ourselves from being so sore, bust up, cramping, not wanting to get out of bed the next day. So this particular fighting technique that I use is something that I've never seen anybody use before. And it's something that is very, I guess, unique to the way that I fight fish. And for reference, I don't fish from the cliffs. This style of fighting will not work from the cliffs. You'll probably get more bust up doing this than you would fighting the fish regularly. And the fighting technique that I use is actually sitting in the sand, or more like kneeling. But what I'm doing is basically using my body as a lever to crank down and pull back, crank down and pull back. So when I'm doing that, I'm basically using the leverage of my entire body weight to boost the fish up, as opposed to if I'm standing up, I'm basically only using my back. So that's one of the reasons that, you'll hear people say, oh my God, my back is so sore the next day. And like I said, if you're fighting the fish on the cliffs and you kneel down, you're probably going to bust up your knees. It's not going to be any good. So this technique is really used for the beach. And really when I'm trying to fight a fish and I realize, okay, this is not a fish. This is a turtle. This is a stingray. This is, something else that I'm not interested in keeping. Even more so, I don't want to invest the time and energy getting myself, sore and really drained for something that's really not worth it. While I say that, in the back of my head, I'm also thinking, yeah, but you never know. What you think is a turtle, what you think is a stingray, what you think is a shark could end up being a really good ulua. So maybe don't always listen to that. But if you see the turtle, you see it, stick its head up, you see its flippers going like that. Yeah, there's no sense in wasting energy trying to, boost that fish in. Go ahead, try kneeling in the sand, try being lazy, I guess for better words, and see if it works for you. Another thing that I do while fighting a fish is I don't necessarily have a death grip on the pole. I actually will have my hand more like this, and I'll have the pole resting on my hand. And really, because the fish is pulling the line out, there's enough pressure being put in your hand that the rod is not going to, go vertical and bounce into the ocean somehow. You're pretty much going to be, stable holding the rod like that. The only thing that might happen, and I don't think it's something that happens often, but if that line cuts and you're not holding the rod securely and you're just, being held there by pressure, it could whip back if the line cuts and it might smack you in the head. I've never seen it happen, but I can only imagine, because if there's so much, pressure with the fish bending the rod over, when it whips back and you're not holding it good, the only thing it's going to hit is you because you're right behind the rod. Also, when you're cranking the reel, my recommendation is, especially for oio, when the oio is running back to shore, you got to get in as much line as you can, as fast as you can. So rather than reeling with your elbow down using your shoulder, go ahead and pop your elbow out so then you're reeling with your wrist. You'll get a lot more, reels in, and that'll help you regain as much line as you can, as quick as you can. Because when there's slack in the line, that's one of the best opportunities for the hook to come out and the fish to get away. So speaking of fish getting away, the point in the fight that I feel you're most likely to lose a fish is when you're landing it. So especially on the shoreline, on the beach, right? When the fish is right on the shore, right where the waves are breaking, it's really susceptible for it to come off. The first reason is if you're trying to boost that fish onto the beach and the waves are trying to go back out, it could easily pull the hook right out because you never know how good the fish is hooked until you bring it up. So if the fish is just barely hooked on the corner of the mouth and you go ahead and pull at the wrong time, you could easily just pop that hook right out. And the opposite could also be the same, where if you're trying to let the fish go down and the waves are pulling up or pushing up, there could be slack in the line. And that slack in the line could easily pop the hook out too. So really making sure you pay attention to the timing of the sets, using the waves to push the fish on shore as opposed to pulling while the waves are receding, or trying to let the fish go back out when the waves are pushing it towards shore, is really important to pay attention to. I believe that my success in landing fish comes from that awareness. I don't know if you guys know this, but my dad, he's going to sit his butt in his chair. He is not going to move. He is not going to get up. He is not going to help me land that fish. I've had situations where I was fishing in Nanakuli and I had guys running down the beach with their gaffs trying to help me. And they look over to my dad and they're probably thinking, why isn't he helping her? And all my dad does is put his hand up and, acknowledges them. But, the idea behind my dad's, sit there and just watch me or video is really, he believes that if you're going to catch a fish, you want to be able to take 100% of that credit. You want to know you casted your line. You want to know you fought the fish. You landed the fish. You did everything by yourself. That way, the sense of accomplishment when you do land that fish, it's so much greater than if, somebody casted the pole for you, somebody, brought the fish halfway in, then gave you the pole, then took it away from you again just before you were landing it. Because really, then it's kind of like shared credit, I guess. And it's not the same as knowing, hey, good or bad, I did it by myself. That's a feeling of pride. That's a feeling of accomplishment that you don't necessarily get when sharing the fight with somebody else. So I hope you folks found what I had to say hopefully helpful. I know that it's a fighting technique that's pretty unique to me. Like I said, I've never seen anybody else fight fish this way, but feel free to try it out. I hope that it helps you to not be as sore or not be as tense the next day, because really, when you're fighting a fish, it's a battle of endurance between you and the fish. Whoever has more endurance at the end of the day is going to win. Unfortunately, if you're all tense and stressed trying to bring in that fish, you might not have the endurance and the stamina to win. So make sure you try some of these things out, and at very least, remember to stay as calm and relaxed as possible, because it's really a chess match. You need to be able to think while you're fighting the fish, while you're bringing it in. Don't let the fish outsmart you, because when you're not thinking straight, that's when accidents happen. Whether you get hurt, whether the fish gets off, that's when bad things happen. So try and stay as calm and relaxed as possible and try these things out. Let me know if it works for you, and I'll hope to see you guys next week.